Politan joins us now, who is a former prosecutor. As you know, he's here to weigh in. Vinnie, Georgia just legalized same-sex marriage a couple of years ago. What does today's ruling mean for people here? How do we translate that?
You know, it's really unclear what impact this decision is going to have here in Georgia, whether it's with bakers or other folks or other bakers other than the one in this particular case. That's because this decision was very specific to what happened in Colorado. But make no mistake here, this was absolutely a win for the free exercise of religion, and here's why. First, the Supreme Court based their decision on two important amendments, right? Well, they're all important, but these two are important, right? The First and 14th. The First Amendment granting the baker, in this case, his right to free exercise of religion, which is then given equal protection under the law through the 14th Amendment. So basically here, the Supreme Court is saying, yes, the baker is entitled to the same constitutional protections as the same-sex couple. Now, let's go take a look at what happened here in Colorado. The Supreme Court found that the state commissioners, right, who ruled against the baker here demonstrated a hostility towards his religion. The court pointed out how the commissioners said this religion was used in the past as a justification for slavery and the Holocaust. And that's really why Colorado lost here. States must apply laws in a way that is neutral towards religion. That's what's guaranteed under our Constitution, and that's what did not happen here. Also important to note here, Jeff, this was a 7-2 vote by the Supreme Court, not a narrow 5-4 decision. Here, two of the more liberal justices sided with the majority, which is even more of a reason why this is a victory for the free exercise of religion.
So the question here then is religion. In other words, if we go back to the 1960s when some restaurants did not want to serve African Americans because they were opposed to the elimination of segregation, that is not applicable here because that did not include religion as a demarcation of why the service was not rendered.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a great distinction that you make there, Jeff. And the other thing is the way that the State Civil Rights Commission viewed this religion, which is Christianity, looked at this religion and said, you know what, this has been used as a justification for slavery, it's been used as a justification for the Holocaust, so clearly they weren't looking at Christianity in a neutral manner, which is what our Constitution guarantees us.
Vinnie Politan will have more coming up on the late feed tonight at 11 o'clock.